all told that if we just use consequences with our children, that they will learn the things they need to learn, and they will turn out to be good, independently operating citizens in the world. Is that really true? There's a lot of evidence that suggests that is not so true. Let's look at that today. Hello, my name is Roland Glass. I'm a clinical social worker, and today we want to talk a little bit about what I call the classic parenting model. The classic parenting model gets its name, at least I assign that name anyway, because it is what I see pretty customary, typical, all over, I think, the world, certainly in all the interactions I've had through the years with clients from various countries, and also especially in America. The classic parenting model seems to be very, very true. And that is the 3 C's: control, correction, consequences. That I see is the basic parenting approach that we are encouraged to use. Now, there's serious problems with this whole model. Real briefly, the ability of a parent to control their children is extremely limited and over-exaggerated. We are told to do that, and we actually think we can when they're younger. What we don't realize is that we're setting a stage that will eventually backfire on us. And so it's very dangerous to actually move into that mindset of thinking that it's our job to control our children. So first of all, I would suggest that we swap the idea of control for the idea of influence. Influence is, on one level, a softer approach, but on the other hand, it's a more powerful way to engage because it does not trigger their resistance as time goes by. The idea of correcting our children really is not very effective the way we typically correct them. This brings in the idea of what many people refer to as discipline, or some people talk about blatantly as punishment. A lot of times there's confusion between punishment and discipline. And that's, again, not our primary topic today. We can talk about that another time. But the bottom line is that the way that people correct is more aligned with punishment, and punishment triggers resistance and rebellion. And then we blame the child for being rebellious. Unfortunately, we would all do pretty much the same thing if we were treated the way that some parents correct. Now, the primary topic for today is really that 3rd C, the idea of consequences. Consequences don't work. They just simply don't work. And very seldom in the past have we ever been told that. Now we're starting to hear more and more voices that acknowledge that. Jane Nelson in Positive Discipline for the Teenager makes this statement very blatant on page 118. Dr. Dan Siegel talks about this in his book, Parenting from the Inside Out. And also Dr. Daniel Hughes in Brain-Based Parenting talks about the idea of relationship-based parenting rather than behavior-based parenting and the consequences. And he says specifically that we often are using the lower part of our brain to come up with consequences rather than the higher level of functioning to really work out the problem and strengthen the connections. And so there's a lot of problems with the idea of consequences, and we're beginning to understand that. Now, you might say, what am I to do? Am I just supposed to let them do whatever they want to do? Absolutely not. That is not what we're promoting here at all. That's the other extreme, which I would call permissive parenting. Permissive parenting has serious problems with it as well. That is really based on, someday they'll figure it out. And that is not what we're promoting at all. Good parenting is engaged. Good parenting is all about the relationship and the connection in the context of real solid working things out together. And so the role of parents around addressing issues is not what we're challenging here. I would propose, in a nutshell, what I call the two ultimate universal laws. These are laws that are universal, as in everywhere. They're ultimate, as in the highest laws of social interaction. And at first, they might sound like consequences, but they're not. It's very, very different language, very different way of thinking about them. Here they are in a nutshell. Number one, everyone, including our children, everyone has a right to make their own choices. Now, that sounds scary, but actually it is innate in being human, and it gets activated early in a child's life in terms of when we look at it from a developmental perspective. The second law must go along with the first. You cannot separate the two without serious negative outcomes. The second law is everyone has a right to experience the results of their choices. Now, this is the one that people say, well, isn't that the same as consequences? Absolutely not. Now, you might argue that these would be more aligned with natural consequences, if you want to use that word. But there's two parts that I would say. Number one is that language is important. The word consequences is loaded with negative energy. The word results is much more neutral. And the word results is really what we're wanting our children to connect. We don't want them to think about consequences as in what mom and dad dole out when they don't like my behavior. We want them to connect the dots. If you want them to connect the dots, help them see that it is a natural result of their choice. They are in a position of power. They made a choice, and there's a result to it. That's why I call them the two ultimate universal laws. The reality is that all of us live under these social laws. Every one of us, whether we're children or adults, this is applicable to every one of us. And we want to celebrate our children's power to choose. We want to guide that power. We want to help them think about what they're choosing and where that will take them. That's why the word results is so important, so vital. And so I'm proposing that we get rid of the idea of controlling our children and embrace the idea of how do we influence them and how do we maximize that influence. And one of the most important ways we can maximize our influence is to respect their choices, respect their power to make their choices, and help them see the results. That will lead them in a much better path where they take ownership and better outcomes for them.